What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to be talking about, is Kawhi Leonard the best player in the NBA after winning the 2019 NBA championship? So let's see what they have to say about that.
Is he the best player in the world right now?
I don't know if he is right now because we've got so many guys injured. But he will now go down in history as a giant killer. He slayed the Miami Heat when they were on a two-time run. Probably should have been three-time, but it was a two-time run with an MVP performance back in 2014. And then last night, and it wasn't just about last night, it was about the whole playoffs and the whole series. He slayed the Golden State Warriors, outplayed everybody on the Warriors team, for especially those first four games, and takes down another two-time champion. Comes into Toronto, and I loved seeing his emotion last night. He let his guard down a little bit. He was very candid after the game, as candid as we've heard from him all year about his issues coming off his injury last year. And at the end of the day, he's got two Finals MVP trophies with two different teams in two different conferences, and that's not something that's ever been done. And something else I want to point out, he led the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and steals. That hasn't been done since Larry Bird in 1984. It was a historically great postseason for Kawhi Leonard. Of course.
So first off, I'd like to say congratulations to the Toronto Raptors and Kawhi Leonard. Congratulations, you guys. You did what you had to do. You took care of business, and you beat the Golden State Warriors. So with that, like I said, congratulations. I'm happy you guys won. You guys deserve it. You guys balled out and did what you're supposed to do. Now, with that said, what do you mean by, is Kawhi Leonard the best player in the NBA right now? Do you mean right now at this very moment? When it was just last two teams playing, Golden State and Toronto, you can make good argument that he's probably going to be the best player out of those two teams. Do you mean is Kawhi Leonard the best player out of the playoff series? Because there's a lot of players out there. I'd go maybe Kevin Durant. There might be Giannis, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard. There's a bunch of different guys that could maybe argue for being the best player in NBA as far as the playoffs. Or do you mean the whole season? Because, again, you can go with Kevin Durant, Steph, Giannis, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, a couple of different guys. So what do you mean? Is Kawhi Leonard the best player in the NBA? You kind of have to break it down because, like I said, there's a lot of guys that aren't playing, a lot of guys that are out of the playoffs. You know, even LeBron James could be thrown in there. So it's like, what do you guys mean? At what point in time do you mean he's the best player? Because a lot can be argued against Kawhi Leonard. And as far as him taking down the Golden State Warriors and him being a giant killer, again, I don't want to take away anything from what Kawhi Leonard did and what the Toronto Raptors did, because they did a great job, but he didn't necessarily see the giant because Kevin Durant wasn't playing. Klay Thompson was spotty when he was playing because he was hurt a good majority of time. And there's a reason why Michael Jordan, whenever he played against somebody, he wanted them at their best. He wanted them to be 100%. So when he beat them down, there was no excuses. There was no excuses whatsoever when Michael Jordan would beat somebody down. I don't want to hear you were sick. I don't want to hear you were hurt. I don't want to hear it was a bad day. Whatever the situation is, you were 100% when I beat you, and you have no excuses. Cannot be said with Kawhi Leonard and to Toronto Raptors against the Golden State Warriors. No, I cannot say that because, again, he did not see the full giant in Kevin Durant. And when Kevin Durant did play for 12 minutes, he put up 11 points and went 3 for 3 from the three-point. So that gave you a little preview of what it could have been. Again, I don't want to take away anything what the Toronto Raptors did and what Kawhi Leonard did, but he didn't see the full giant. So I can't say that he's a giant killer. But again, I don't want to take anything away from Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. This is their time. So let's keep going.
Kawhi Leonard is the best player in basketball, and it's about time people recognize it. He was the best. With a healthy KD, clearly Golden State would have won, and people would have mistakenly called KD better than Kawhi. Just like with a healthy KD, clearly they destroyed the Cavs last year, and some people mistakenly called KD better than LeBron.
So wait a minute, what do you mean by that? If Kawhi Leonard faced a healthy KD would have won. The Golden State Warriors would have won. But you said the same thing about what Kevin Durant against somebody else last year against LeBron. I don't understand what he means by that. Because if Kevin Durant was playing and you think he would have beat the Toronto Raptors, then most likely Kevin Durant would be better than Kawhi Leonard. So I don't understand what Max is talking about. I'm going to have to go watch that again or what, but I don't know. Let's keep going.
Ron has the postseason to remind us that he's the best in the game usually because he plays it safe during the regular season, takes his foot off the gas, doesn't spend himself because he knows the postseason's where it's at. He didn't make the playoffs this year. We won't see him again.
And again, I don't mean to keep stopping this, but again, like I said, what do you mean by the best player? Because like you said, LeBron James didn't even make the playoffs, but he can still be considered one of the best players. Kevin Durant wasn't playing because he was hurt. He can be considered one of the best players. So at what point in time do you think, or are you calling Kawhi Leonard the best player? What asterisk is be put next to that? Well, players that didn't make the playoffs, overall, players that were hurt. So you have to break down what you mean by best player and what point in time. So let's keep going.
Into the playoffs, he was almost 36 years old. Who knows? So the title's vacant. That's what I said to start the playoffs. Baton is down. Who wants to pick it up? Kawhi, do you remember what he did against Philadelphia? Anyone remember the last shot, let alone the series? Remember what he then did to the Greek freak who I thought was going to prove himself the best player in the game? A physical mismatch. And then what he just did to the Golden State Warriors. The most points scored in a single postseason ever, MJ 1, LeBron 2, Kawhi 3. Wendy just brought it up. MVPs with finals MVPs, 2 separate franchises. Kareem, LeBron, now Kawhi. You know who the 3 greatest players of the modern era are? MJ, Kareem, and LeBron. And Kawhi finds himself on...
Well, what's Kobe and all that? You can't. The dislike for Kobe is getting out of control. The disrespect for Kobe is getting out of control. So Kobe's nowhere in there with 5 rings and 2-1 without Shaq. Kobe's nowhere in there. There's no Kobe, right? There's no Kobe, Max. I mean, I know you're a casual fan, but this is getting out of control. The disrespect for the Black Mamba. So let's keep going.
Lists with those kind of names. Larry Bird is right there with those kind of names. Everyone always likes to talk about defense. They pay lip service to it. So when I was a kid, they told me Julio Cesar Chavez and Mike Tyson were the best pound for pound in the world. I saw this guy, Pernell Whitaker. I said, well, no one can hit him. Everyone, Felix Trinidad, shame about Floyd Mayweather. No one can hit him. Kawhi plays defense like he's Pernell Whitaker or Floyd Mayweather, but now his offense is almost as good as anyone's in the game. Let me tell you something else, finally. If Kawhi Leonard goes to the Clippers, you heard it here first. The Clippers are winning the NBA title next season.
Oh.
Now, Max, don't live in the moment. I think Max is living directly in the moment. He's not looking even remotely into the future. So if Kawhi goes to the Clippers, what would make you think that he could take on everybody else that's out there? For one thing, a factor is the Golden State Warriors didn't make it because they had injuries. Who to say that another team's not going to have injuries? Who to say that the Clippers aren't going to have injuries? Who's to say who's going to play with Kawhi when he's with the Clippers? There's so many variables that I would not throw that out there yet, especially you don't even know where Kawhi is going to be going. I would probably make that type of claim with the team that's already established, like maybe, I don't know, the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe I'll probably go with OKC or Houston before I would say the Clippers are going to win if Kawhi goes there. I mean, there's too many variables there. At least you know a team set up in OKC. At least you know a team set up in Houston. At least you know the Golden State Warriors have a squad, even though you don't necessarily know where everybody's going to be. But they have at least some type of core. So to say that, you're living way too much in a moment right now with that, Max. So let's keep going.
Wait. What if AD goes to the Lakers?
If Kawhi goes to the Clippers are your NBA champions.
Stop right there.
Year.
I have a question. Are you saying if Kawhi Leonard goes by himself or with somebody?
If they keep the team more or less as it is, the pieces, and Kawhi joins by himself as the only superstar, he will do with the Clippers what he just did with the Raptors.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So again, Max, I wouldn't necessarily say that because there's too many variables. So a lot of people say Kawhi wouldn't have been able to do what he did if Kevin Durant wasn't hurt, if Clay wasn't hurt, if the Golden State Warriors were firing in all cylinders. So you can't necessarily, it's not like he beat them straight up. A lot of the core pieces were gone. Now, if he beat them straight up and Kevin Durant was playing, Clay wasn't hurt and all that, then maybe I could say, no, you might be working with something there. But he didn't face the full giant in Golden State Warriors. And I hate to say that because I don't want to take anything away from him, but he didn't face the full giant. So to say if Kawhi just goes to the Clippers by himself, he's going to do the same amount of damage? Nah, like I say, he didn't face the full giant. So let's keep going.
Before I get into answering that question about the best player in the world, whether or not that's Kawhi, I want to say this. I feel very, very sorry for the Philadelphia 76ers.
You got
Because,
that right.
my God, could you imagine? I mean, Kawhi was standing in their way. You got to remember, the Sixers blew the Raptors out in 2 games in that series, forced a Game 7, and the shot by Kawhi that bounced and bounced and bounced before it fell in ultimately derailed the Sixers, because the Sixers, I'm telling you, somebody that covers the Sixers has been in that locker room. They wanted Milwaukee, and they believed they could have beat Milwaukee, and we see what could have happened to Golden State if you got a collection of talent that you got to deal with. So I feel sorry for the Sixers in that regard, number one. Number two, I also want to say this is a bad day for the San Antonio Spurs. And it's a bad day for the San Antonio Spurs because of Kawhi Leonard's post-game comments. You have to remember, when Kawhi Leonard is alluding to, quote-unquote, people not believing in me, etc. Think about this. You can talk to media all you want to. All the media did was report what was going on inside that locker room.
He kept saying they misdiagnosed his injury, remember?
Not just misdiagnosis, also Tony Parker and other players. Right. And not only that, the belief is that they would not have ever approached him had it not been by, with Greg Popovich giving the okay, etc. So we don't know what the truth is, in fairness to the San Antonio Spurs, but Kawhi Leonard being as candid as he was in that post-game, it's a bad day for the San Antonio Spurs, because not only did you lose him, he basically told you why. You didn't believe in him.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt Stephen A. Smith, but definitely the Spurs, they have to be kicking themselves right now. They have to be. They thought they were being big and bad and try to force Kawhi to play and not believe him. And he says, you know what, fine, I'll just kick rocks. And he went to Toronto and won it all. So no matter how you look at it, the San Antonio Spurs, they have to be kicking themselves. They have to be kicking themselves. Especially Kawhi, he turned out to be a great dude. And all it was he was hurt, but you guys didn't believe him. And I bet you some of the media jackals, they throwing some hype there too. They stirred a pot of rumors and, he said, she said type stuff. But Kawhi let him know straight up right there, if you guys would have believed in me and would have been cool, we could be at the championship right now winning. But that's not the way you guys wanted to play it. So it is what it is. Let's keep going.
As a person, it's a bad situation for any organization to be in with a superstar, because you never know how that can affect things moving forward in the future. Now, as it pertains to the best player, Kawhi Leonard, to me, is not the best player in the world. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best players in the world. But to me, I'm not ready to say he's better than LeBron. I damn sure ain't ready to say he's better than Kevin Durant. I'm not even ready to say he's better than Anthony Davis. I don't feel that way.
Well, I can't believe, I was just about to say, but what about Kobe? Okay, I understand what they mean. Kobe's not playing right now, so we can leave. That's, I guess, an escape route for them to not bring up Kobe. But as far as Anthony Davis, what has Anthony Davis done to put him as being the top player? If I'm thinking about top players in the NBA right now, you got to at least win a ring. You got to at least win a ring. I mean, I can understand that you can be the best player and be on a trash team, but as Kawhi just showed you today, you can be on a team and be the only superstar, and you can make it and win it all. So I don't know why Anthony Davis is even remotely in conversation when everybody else has multiple rings. Kawhi Leonard has multiple rings, multiple MVPs. Kevin Durant has multiple rings, multiple MVPs. So I don't know why Anthony Davis would even remotely come in the conversation. He's won nothing. He not even made it to the finals, let alone. It just doesn't make sense. But let's keep going.
Look, Durant's not going to play next year.
No. I'm just talking about when we say, like what Wendy said when he started off his comments by saying he doesn't know because of the injuries. We're not talking about.
What I'm saying is the injuries. You're talking about a 32-year-old by the time he comes back.
That's what you're talking about. I'm talking now. That's what you're talking about. I am saying to you, I'm only looking at talent. I'm not thinking about next year. I understand the injuries when KD might be out. I get all of that. I'm just talking about looking at you right now today. When you analyze somebody's talent and skill set, I don't view Kawhi Leonard as the definitive best in the world. I think LeBron has something to say about that. I think KD, from a talent perspective, has something to say about that. I damn sure think Anthony Davis has something to say about that. Kawhi Leonard is spectacular. He is a superstar. He's a two-time champion, a two-time NBA Finals MVP. I'm not taking anything away from him. But when I think of the skill sets and the talent that it requires, you doing what you do, also making dudes better, playing on both ends of the floor, which obviously is what makes Kawhi Leonard in that conversation. Those three names that I gave you, I think a legitimate argument could be made that all of them could be ahead of Kawhi.
As good as Kawhi.
So I don't know about that. Maybe some of them, like me personally, I'm a Kevin Durant type of guy, so I think he's the best player in the league right now. Anthony Davis definitely does not belong in the conversation. To tell you the truth, I would take Kawhi Leonard over Anthony Davis all day, every day. He just brings more to the table. He's more versatile. He has a better shot. He's a heck of a better defensive player than Anthony Davis. So I don't even know why Anthony Davis would be up in there. I would probably actually bring up a James Harden or Russell Westbrook before I'd even remotely bring up an Anthony Davis as far as doing anything. I mean, I don't even know why Anthony Davis would be in there. And like I said, the company that he's sitting up there with, all those guys have multiple rings and multiple MVPs. And to bring up Anthony Davis is just kind of disrespectful to anybody else. So let's keep going.
This postseason, believe